And welcome back. 12 News is your local election headquarters. Joining us live in studio, we're excited to have him back, our political analyst, Joe Fleming. So, Joe, let's kick things off right away talking about the biggest race in the state of Rhode Island. It's still a year away, but it's starting to kind of take shape here. So, campaign for governor in Rhode Island. We're getting our first look today at the latest campaign finance reports, and they show, as we mentioned earlier, Seth Magaziner with a big cash advantage right now. What does this tell you right now about the strength of his support? And does it mean anything to be the fundraising leader at this early stage?
Well, Danielle, it does mean something at this stage for the simple reason there's probably going to be 5 or 6 candidates in the Democratic primary for governor. You need a lot of money to distinguish yourself from the other candidates. You're also running against an incumbent governor. So you got to get your message out there. Then you have to go into a general election against a Republican. So you need those resources. Right now, Seth Magaziner is in a good position with raising money. Keep in mind, though, there's a long way to go. The candidates are just gearing up. So I think you're going to see all the candidates start to get over that $1 million mark pretty soon.
All right, let's talk about some of the unknowns here. So in this race, we have Helena Folks. She is the former CVS executive. She jumped into the race a few weeks ago. So we don't have fundraising numbers for her yet. We won't get them until January. But she's already hiring some top campaign staffers. Ted Nisi reporting on that this week. So tell us about these moves for her.
Well, she's getting her campaign together. Money is not going to be a big problem for her. She could self-fund some of her campaign. She has a lot of resources. She could raise money. As a matter of fact, she could probably cut into people that Seth Magaziner goes to get money from. So I think she's going to have no problem with raising the money. She's putting her staff together. The thing to keep in mind is she's known in the business circle, but she's not known in the general public.
Right.
So the general public has to get a message about what she stands for. No one knows that right now. She needs money. She needs resources. She has to build the staff to get that message out there. That's what she's doing now. All
right, and certainly every election cycle, we see these hot button issues emerging. Obviously, the economy always front and center, especially as we're going to be in a post-COVID world by, hopefully next year. But what are some of the other early themes you could see emerging? I mean, we had those dismal scores on education. You think that could end up at the top of the heap here?
Absolutely. I think the economy, the education, a lot of these candidates are going to talk about what they're going to do for education and try to increase the scores. We've been hearing that for year after year after year. We see no increase in the scores. So that's going to be a big issue this year. Also, spending the federal money that we have. How's that money going to be spent? I think each candidate is going to come up with their own plan of how the money should be spent, trying to get that across to the voters and try to get certain groups to support them based on what they're saying.
All right, now let's quickly talk about Governor McKee. So he has a lot of people obviously already gunning for his job. What should he be doing over the next year to convince voters to hire him in his own right after being moved into the seat when Governor Raimondo left?
I think the big thing for Dan McKee is to do the job and do it well. He had a couple of big stumbles early on. First he started strong, then he had the stumbles with Tony Silver and the education contract. Again, that was a year before the primary. He still has time to turn things around. I think what's happened, the campaign got a little closer because of those issues. But I think he has to show he can run the state of Rhode Island, that he wants to run the state of Rhode Island, and that he can do a good job. People want to see an effective governor. That's what Dan McKee has to do, be effective over the next 11 months.
Yeah, 11 months. They're going to go by fast.
Yes, they will.
We'll be checking in with you along the way. Joe Fleming, thanks for your analysis today. And if you want to take a closer look at those campaign fundraising numbers we mentioned, we have the full report on our website. Pat? And welcome back. 12 News is your local election headquarters. We're so excited to welcome back to our studio political analyst Joe Fleming. As we mentioned, it's November. When Joe's here, we know this is it, right? We're matching up the season with Joe. So let's start with a big race that's still a year away. But we want to talk about the campaign for Rhode Island governor because we really are starting to see some things take shape here. This morning we saw the first campaign finance reports that are out, and they show Seth Magaziner with a big cash advantage right now. So what does this tell you right now? Still early, but what does it tell you about the strength of his support? And does it mean anything to be the leader this early in the game with fundraising?
Danielle, it does mean something because it looks like there's going to be a 5 or 6 person candidate Democratic primary for governor.
Right.
You need a lot of money to get yourself known and get yourself distinguished from the other 4 or 5 candidates. And right now, with $1.5 million, Seth Magaziner has the money to really start to build the base. He could bring the staff on, he could try to get a message out, and he could try to get the voters to know him better than they do right now. So that's a big advantage. The other candidates have to really work to get their money up there. No question about that.
And one candidate in particular has to work on getting her name out there, and that's Helena Folks. She's the former CVS executive who jumped into the race a few weeks ago, but a lot of people aren't aware of really who she is. We will not have her fundraising numbers till January. So she's hiring top staffers. What can you tell us about these moves?
Well, you're correct. She's not known. She's known in the business community, but not by the general public in the state of Rhode Island. The one thing she does have, she has a lot of wealth herself. So she could self-fund her campaign if she wanted to. She also has a good base to raise money. Max, she could probably cut into Seth Magazina's fundraising somewhat. So I think she's going to really raise money between now and January to show a good amount of money in January, but she's putting the staff together. She has to get herself known right away when January comes, because if she waits too long, she could fall back in the pack. We don't know what she stands for at this point. That's going to be very key in this election. See who she takes votes away from and what base she can build up.
So early in the game, it's more about the money. Then we start to see the message. We start to see those hot button issues start to emerge, and you start to see the candidates kind of, shaping their brand, so to speak, for their campaign. Obviously, the economy is always front and center, but what about education? As we just saw those, those test results that released that last week that did not paint a good picture of education in Rhode Island.
Danielle, I've been doing this for many years.
Yeah.
And the issues don't really change that much. It is
unfortunately, right?
It's true. It is the economy and it is education. Our test scores are very low. They've been very low for a long time. I expect all the candidates, Democrats and Republicans, to really focus on education and try to give their plans on what they're going to do to change the education in the state of Rhode Island. Again, they have to get that message out to the voters to make it effective.
And real quickly, Governor McKee, what does he need to do over the next year?
He needs to do a good job being governor. He had a couple missteps early on. He now has to show to the people of Rhode Island that he can run the state and he can do it effectively and get results for the people of Rhode Island. All
right, certainly going to be interesting as always. Joe Fleming, we appreciate your analysis this morning. Thanks for joining us. And we have a closer look at those campaign fundraising reports on our website, WPRI.com.